tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. So today I'm going to touch into aspects of anapanasati. So this is both a very obvious and widespread strategy system for steadying and discharging stress, panic, overexcitement. Used very thoroughly in many walks of life, just to take a breath and breathe out and release and breathe in, take a deep breath in and start again. So it's a pretty accessible and well understood and useful feature of our lives, breathing. But the Anapanasati Sutta takes this to a very full fruition, which is unusual, and step by step. So often the Buddha's teaching gives us something we can actually get a handle on. Most people can get something, and then gradually getting skillful qualities to gather around that, and then the thing begins to have a certain the skillfulness of the skillful qualities begins to have an effect, and they start rolling things along. And as they roll things along, they get more and more refined qualities arise, or refinements of sati, mindfulness, and sampajana, direct, clear knowing, ease, relief, becomes quite refreshing. And so this process, but the but is that the Buddha apparently taught this after the Sangha had been having a 3-month intensive retreat supervised by these great arahants. So it seems this is all the kind of like preparations in a way. And the Buddha said, "Oh, you're doing so well, I think I could introduce you to this." So the full extent of it is not really manageable, I think, by a beginner. Or even, fairly thorough, but really takes quite a lot of development, maturation. But there are key features in it that one can begin to tune into. I'd also like to say that this is not something that's mandatory, the one and only way. What I do find out over years of talking to people, how many the range of skillful means that are applied to steer this citta out of ignorance towards release. So this is one, and I think everybody can get something out of it. And at least what it's suggesting, the processes that it brings in are helpful to bear in mind in any kind of practice one is doing. First of all, being sati itself. Yeah, in the sense of safety, one is upright, root of a tree, feeling comfortable, experiencing that. Experiencing that externally. And taking that message in. And then just knowing there is breathing. It's not something we have to deliberately do. One of the themes of it is involuntary. It's bodies do this. So the sense of the I am doing it is to be released, moderated, one supervises, attunes, lingers, discerns. But breathing is something that bodies do. And that feeling of just allowing it to come in, allowing it to fill the body, allowing it to completely fill as much as it will, allowing it to pause, allowing it to breathe out completely, letting it all go. So this sense and tuning into that, because there is quite a lot of restriction that can occur around trying to do meditation. This is something doesn't really know it's okay to let it all go at the end of a breath, and just be mindful of that release of energy, release of willpower, release of thought. Often when people are breathing out, something is planning the next in-breath, trying to get it right, to make sure they've really got it. And well, yeah, this is definitely understandable, but this is kind of, we've got to release, when you want to ride a bike, you have all kinds of awkward fumbles and worries, and then eventually you just got to get on the thing and trust your body to tune into it. So part of the happiness of it is that growing ability to just tune in and trust the process and soften those tendencies to try to get it right and, prepare for the next thing and start proliferating on whether you can do it and how long you've got to do it for, and just take 5 minutes, just trusting the process and staying with it. So it does have to be something one clearly discerns, not too difficult to discern. So we say the obvious sense of the whole body swelling and subsiding. In fact, we might say it's not the whole body. The feet are not affected by it. So, okay, well, as whole as you've got, but you're probably going to find, if you tune into that there are effects. It's like tingling in the skin, in the face, definitely, around the eyes. And you do get wider senses of this subtle tingliness that occurs because the breathing is an energy. We're not talking about breath. We don't watch breath. We're mindful of the process of breathing, which is the body kind of organising in its own way the muscles, expansions, the moderation of the process, and the monitoring the process. The body knows how much it needs. So beginning to dislodge the controller, the warrior. So there's something beautiful about that. And having that occasion. And of course, why we're so often trying to control things, is because the mind is fairly reckless. It just, keep a grip on it, it drifts off or scatters. So it does take kind of a multifaceted training and approach to, which I think is what these monks were doing over that time, to really, moderate, restrain and cool one's inclinations and habits. So the mind is more sensitive and receptive and doesn't run off too far. If it does, we can breathe it out. Essentially, there are ways in which these distractions and hindrances affect us, whatever their topic. In ones that flare up and rush out, some passions, fascinations, and these you kind of breathe out. You sense that energy picking up. As you pick up, sense that, and you catch that, and okay, drop the topic, just take a breath, let the breathing breathe out, without adding a whole lot of mental comment on the topic. Just meet the energy which has got excited and release. So always that returning in that way. Of course, we breathe in as well. So when we're getting these kind of depressive states where things feel flat and dull and shrouded, kind of caved in, and then it's tuning into the in-breath. The fullness of it. It comes up through the body and opens around the throat and the chest, refreshes the head as the air streams in through the nostrils and the nose cavities in the head. So tuning into that. So these are very simple, perhaps, overly simple, but they're direct strategies for just unhooking the grip the hindrances make. And we're swirling around in doubt and speculation about what we should or couldn't. Say, well, what you know is you're breathing in and you're breathing out. And at the end of the out-breath, there's a pause, just empty, free. At the end of the in-breath, there's a pause, empty, open. Doesn't need to be filled in with ideas or confirmations, or it looks after itself. Of course, it can be a case that takes a while to get pauses. The system can be moving so fast. So then senses don't go to the breath itself until it really widen to sense the frame of the body, even the space around the body, stabilize, and then to the spinal sense. Just using those and lingering in those. So you take your attention away from an energy that's got locked into this very fast patterns, or stirred up patterns. So you can widen your focus. And sati permits all this because we're keeping one theme in mind, which is stability, and supporting a very natural process. So I never recommend people rush in on it or try to grab it, but you wait till the body kind of allows you in, by sensing the frame of the body, the space around it, and how open it all is. And the ground beneath, how steady and stable that is. And these have a steady, calming effect in their own right. When the citta picks up those signals, it does tend to regulate, calm down. Body seems to sense that, and then it steadies. Now, often these kind of reflex energies are very fast-moving minds, and because of our psychological environment is fast-moving, calculations and strategies, so we need to kind of really bear in mind that right now it's not there. Right now you're living in the refuge. Right now you've taken refuge with the triple gem, timeless, encouraging, gladdening, straightening. Keep going back to that. And things will begin to ease up. And right there's a discarding, a useful discarding of unhelpful energies and mind states. Just in that much, one will have benefited. Because what it does, it provides a kind of distinct separation from these sankharas, these compulsive ones, these mentally and emotionally, karmically induced ones. You've got something that bodies do, rather than just mental fermentation. So it gives you that stepping back without blocking or obstructing, but just stepping back as that. Then the discarding, the fascination, the analysis, the speculation around what one's compulsive energies are doing. A lot can be gained, a lot can be benefited from that, for doing that just that much as a regular thing for over years. And as there is that steadying the body, you begin to sense the body more fully. The skin, even energies moving down the legs, in the breathing. A sense of lightness can be experienced. So I'll give a brief reading this morning. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham dhammam sangham namissami. So, there's a few extracts. You're probably familiar with this process, these teachings. But having steadied within this bodily formation, the kaya sankhara, which is that which gives us the impression, the body gives the body an impression of itself, kaya kaye, in the body knowing itself, which is this internal sense of warmth and heat and pressure, firmness, openness, and the body senses itself. All this is the region of kaya sankhara, bodily formation or bodily activation. And citta and the breathing is really the central theme within that, even though it gets split up into many different energies. And so the unification is the drawing away or the distillation of all the various energies that form in the body, tangling and bustling and heating into a single flow. So it's sensitive to the kaya sankara and soothing it. Pasambayam. Like sense of soothing it. We must be aware that tranquilizing is not like taking a Valium or something where you dumb down. I mean, it's quite an active process of, encouraging, gladdening, brightening, easing. It's a gentle process. It's not a violent process, but it's not. It's going to be quite active in that sense of engagement with it. How does that occur? An experience sensitive to the discordant or the foggy qualities in the body, or the unbalanced qualities in the body. One attunes to where the breathing feels good, anywhere. It could be your chest or your head or your out-breath or a particular phase in it. You make much of that. You give attention to that, glad, brightening sense. Pick it up. You pick it up, it becomes the dominant characteristic, dominant feature. Pick it up, stay with it, and the breathing will carry that signal through the body. This is what, because of this connection between the citta and the body, if we tune in with our hearts, attentions, awareness to where there is a comfortable, easeful place or point of reference in there, could be a moment even, that moment when I finally let the breathing really come in, with a slight gladdening effect. And you tune into that. It's a signal, a nimitta. And you pick up that nimitta, that signal. Oh yes, like this. Acknowledging my heart feels quite bright and relieved. And staying with that. And letting the breathing carry that message through the body. It's like a certain cleansing effect. But we have to find a place in all this where it does feel comfortable. You can't do it by because it's skillful states that do it, you see. It's not some person doing it, it's skillful states that do it. So you have to find one. Pick up the energy of it, tune into that. It could be a state of patience, a state of openness, where the citta feels slightly more lifted. And then you tune in how the body is there and breathe through that. Happier, more agreeable, more comfortable, more fluid moment, state, and that will make it greater. And it will gradually drip and pervade through the foggy or the tight areas in our embodiment. It's pasambayam. It's not just throwing a blanket over a parrot in the cage. It's something much more skillful and fine-tuned than that, in my estimation, my experience. So then this is the sense in which there can be this lifting, rapture. It sounds a very extreme sense. For some people it can be. But it's essentially like I liken it to when you have you have a boat on a beach and the tide comes in and gradually lifts the boat. And it says, oh, I'm not doing it, something's lifting. Hey, that's nice. When you get that, oh, lifting. Naturally, some people are much more emotionally tuned in or sensitive to this. Other people not much, but there is a shift from the emotional tone, and the bodily tone becomes lighter and more. You feel, oh, this thing actually lifts by itself. Oh. So this allows for what's called the tuning into the Chitta Sankhara, which is that way in which the Chitta is affected by this. It does feel lifted. It does feel, oh. And it's not through me doing it, something happens. So we picked it up and we return. How did that happen? Where was that happening? What was the process that brought it around? Oh yeah, when that piece, and letting it go. That piece, staying firming it up. Yeah? So involved training. Sensitive to the Chitta Sankhara, emotional tonality. It's a little wider than just emotion. It means the whole reflexive, sensitive, reactive, whether we're jumpy or gloomy or sort of fragile, febrile, or very robust and a bit rough, that kind of thrust of the heart or faltering of the heart or sinking of the heart. And sensitive to that, then one does the same thing, soothing, pasambhayam, Chitta Sankhara. So it's soothing it. Doesn't mean eliminating it, soothing it. So that the kind of compulsive, or we might say karmically programmed reflexes we might have, our abruptness or our impatience or our depressive sense or our intoxication, we get a bit giddy. Maybe somebody who flies up quite giddy, or somebody goes gloomy or whatever. These karmically programmed reflexes, you begin to steady and soothe it and ease those out. You've got something much more tuned in. It's still responsive, but it's now tuning in through cleared these effects, these influences, and then thoroughly sensitive to the citta, patisamvedi. It's translated as experiencing, which is one way of looking at it, but when you look at the way the word is constructed, pati means thorough, sam means completely, and vedi is associated with feeling. So I think thoroughly sensitive to is perhaps gives you a richer sense. Those are different translations, and you use what seems to work. But as we're working with something that's extremely sensitive, reactive, and emotive, sensing this kind of really quite volatile quality, a receptivity that can shimmer. And the Buddha said it shimmers so quick, I can't even find a metaphor to describe how quick that shifts. It can, in a hair, a fraction of a second, it can tip and tilt. We're sensitive to that. So it's something we get a sense of protecting it from harmful influences. And mindfulness actually, really establishing like a watchful, caring parent around that, listening in. And then the first inclination is called gladdening, abhipamojayam. Pamoja, glad, associated with mudita, appreciation, a sense of enjoying, and abhi, higher. So it's a kind of lofty or noble or enjoyment. It's not a kind of squalid, it's something that's lifting, uplifted enjoyment. Oh, beautiful. It's encouragement. It's almost causing the citta to expand, not carelessly, but almost luxuriate, opening into itself. Oh, yes. How amazing it is to have this refined sensitivity. How beautiful. And encouraging. And then samadham, stabilizing, steadying, unifying. So the citta is then firmed up. Gladdening, then firming into a resolute state, so that these vimokkayam, it's liberating, clearing the citta from its histories, from its tendencies. So this is already a lot. There's a lot of history and memory and can occupy us, where you remember a lot and things come back to us. And depending on your character, I notice I tend to remember things I feel regret over. Easy sense of, I didn't do that very well. That was a bit of a loudmouth, stupid thing to say. Even going, I kind of remember when I was 5 years old, I think about 4 or 5, told a lie to my father. I still remember it. It still causes me a shudder of remorse. I was just kind of, because I thought he'd punish me. He actually never punished me in his entire life. Never even scolded me. He was a very grand and loving father. But I just feared his disappointment. So I kind of said something. I hadn't done something. I'd done a silly little thing that kids do. And I said I hadn't. And I still have this sense of, that was pretty rotten, really. It's not even something I can think around. It's just this shadow of that. Even though, I could deliberately consider the many occasions when I offered a lot of love and respect and service to my dad. They don't jump up. What jumps in is these little shadows. If I get on the shadow path, I can just do a track of all the things I can find fault with myself over the years, particularly, in this life. My standards are very high. I haven't lived up to them. I've said stupid things. I've acted in reckless ways. Carelessness took over, impulsiveness. I can't think of a single thing I did right. It actually takes a little bit of, oh, wait a minute. So it's not a reasonable process. We must be careful of what stays with us, and to do this sense of returning and patiently acknowledging the flaws, the faults, the defects of a citta embedded in ignorance. And we're never going to get it out of it through just criticizing. And let's pick it up. Breathe in. Breathe in. Breathe in. Breathe out. With whatever the emotional tone is that helps one to say, now we try again. Now we remember. We have done some, kept a few precepts some of the time. A few wise words occasionally, And, just returning to the good points, gladdening in the good aspects. So as the Buddha said, if you have to make the citta great. It's like if you put a spoonful of salt in a cup of water, the water tastes very salty. But if you put a 2 spoonful of salt in the Ganges River, it doesn't affect it. So if you make the citta from being a narrow teacup into a great river, then these blemishes can be flushed away. You don't get too. You can find yourself getting broody and preoccupying. And what's happening, closing in. Just keep it, open the body, breathe in, breathe out, whatever, forgiving, clarifying, reminding, straightening. You bring that in. This is all just, if one does nothing more than that, this is already immensely beneficial. And through this concluding sequence, which is more the insight, which is the reviewing of the process, where the language changes to witnessing, all this is changeable. Not really a permanent entity, not a fixed thing. Therefore, who's that? Who's the fixed person? There is no fixed person. There are mental factors and personality factors and karmic conditions. And it's both humbling and freeing. Any sense of grandiosity or attainment, we just just let it. It's that sense you don't want. So one notices, occasionally in these suttas somebody's giving a talk and explaining their practice or whatever, and this person says, this means the Venerable One is an arahant. And the person says nothing. Can't deny it, it's not going to affirm it, it's just, let it, whatever it is, let it. Don't throw some self around that. So that, anicca, viraga, dispassion, not getting excited or intense, nirodha, ceasing, the ceasing of these strategies that would tend to form a self. So it's not elimination of a self, it's just the non-forming of the strategies of self-referencing, where are we now? getting out of the me bag. Where are we now? Don't keep adding it up. Don't keep doing maths on what you are and aren't. Can you get that? Can you refrain from it into that unnameable, that relief from personal statement? Not just the explicit one, but the implicit ones, the one that makes it to oneself about who you are and what you're not, and what you could be. Why do we need to keep doing that? How useful is it? So certainly we acknowledge defective conditions blurred by hatred, greed. We notice those arising, subsiding. We have space for that. We notice qualities of gladness, of brightness. We create space for that. Energies, excitement, energies. Then what happens is the beneficial energies will tend to settle into the body. Negative ones got nothing to feed on. So the positive ones will take care of themselves. The negative ones generally involve some kind of intense mental or emotional, congestion and conditioning reactions. So we let the positive go. It doesn't mean it disappears. It means it's there and it's quiet, not grasped. Nirodha, the ending of grasping. But in Nitsaga, complete abandonment of the notion of there being something to have or get to or become. And these are, we're so often reminded of this. And Sumedho makes main teaching out of just non-attainment, non-becoming, non-arrival. Don't think of it like that. And it's a good reminder, but actually to bring it around, yes, intimacy of how these configurations are occurring. They're very convincing. Look at the convictions, the needing of conviction. What's that? This is sankhara, forming, steadying, soothing. Citta is not the same as the activations and programs that it's wound up with. So this extraction or release. So this process, and when we contemplate these process in terms of satipatthana, it says, contemplate the citta in this state, in that state, doing this, doing that, occupied with this, shaped by that, gone great, gone flat. And then we just know to the extent to which it's just pure awareness, there is citta. No, So all the differentiations, so you've ceased getting intoxicated or aggravated by them. A process to bring around, whatever your practice is about, whatever your approach is, this is the line of development, is through this anicca, or sometimes called viveka, detachment, dispassion, ceasing, relinquishment. In this way, progressively, the ability for the citta to release itself from the grasp of karma, grasp of memory, the grasp of projection, tendency to form a self out of it. we make it available. So breathing's going on all the time. And as we move around, it's always it's sort of like that tonality that you can sense within your body happening all the time, that tonality. It doesn't have to be necessarily the main focus, it can be a background theme that is there you can refer to easily as a moderator of mental energy and emotional energy. Sometimes it comes to the fore when you need it to just regulate, take a breath, don't know what to do, breathe out, breathe in, and let the faculties steady themselves, and we can proceed in accordance with what seems appropriate. So offer these few thoughts, notes for your reflection today.